Washington Mystics co-owner and businesswoman Sheila Johnson has criticized Time magazine for its recent Athlete of the Year cover announcement. In an interview on Friday morning with CNN, Johnson criticized the major publication for focusing on former Iowa, now Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark, despite the league as a whole reeling in new popularity. On Tuesday, Time awarded 22-year-old Caitlin Clark the Times Athlete of the Year, following a record-breaking college season and journey as the #1 draft pick into the WNBA. Johnson says the WNBA as a whole should have made the cover as Athlete of the Year, rather than singling out Clark. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said, "The WNBA is the League of the Year because of all the talent that we have," Johnson asked. After a highly anticipated rookie season, Clark was awarded Rookie of the Year and All-WNBA First Team, the first rookie since now-retired Candace Parker to do so since 2008. When you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings, added Johnson. She is the co-owner of 3 Washington sports franchises, the NHL's Capitals, the NBA's Wizards, and the WNBA's Mystics, and co-founder of Black Entertainment Television. When asked by the outlet, Johnson said she wanted to be diplomatic about it, while also admitting that it is the structure of the way media plays out race. "I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have, and I think right now it is time for that to happen." In her Time magazine article, Clark recognized her privilege while also crediting black women players as the foundation of the league. "She shouldn't have had to say that," Johnson countered. Despite the criticism, Clark has helped bring a new audience to the WNBA. However, the league was already seeing exponential growth, according to the league commissioner, Kathy Engelberg. Prior to the media's focus on Caitlin Clark's last 2 seasons at Iowa and her introduction into the league, after decades of playing in the shadows, the WNBA and its players shined in 2024. Adweek named the league the fastest-growing brand of the year. While the league has reported recording-breaking viewership from regular season, games, playoffs, and the finals this past season, some veteran players say they've encountered heightened racism from spectators, in person and on social media, including Chicago Sky's Chennedy Carter, who was harassed upon arriving at a DC hotel this past June. Amber Cox, Indiana Fever general manager and COO, has explained her unpopular decision to leave Temi Fagbenle unprotected during last Friday's WNBA expansion draft. Fagbenle was one of 11 WNBA players selected to join the new WNBA franchise, Golden State Valkyries, and Cox has received backlash for letting Fagbenle leave the organization after just 1 season. "It's a difficult decision, but we all have to sacrifice for expansion," Cox said. "You never like to see a player leave," she added. "Temi was obviously an incredible piece to the success last year. It's the price we pay for growth. Certainly it was a decision we made, but a decision that wasn't in a vacuum. Part of an overall strategy that hopefully everyone will see unfold throughout the offseason." Fagbenle was Caitlin Clark's front-court teammate at the Fever last year, averaging 6.4 points per game. It was expected that Fagbenle would be protected as the lists were not made public, adding to the surprise when Golden State acquired the 32-year-old last Friday. "One of the few players that actually played defense and she wasn't protected. Please make this make sense," one fan wrote on X when reacting to the Fever's announcement. "That's a good selection by them, Valkyries. She is a great mentor for young players. Fever will miss you, Temi, another added. Going to regret this decision in a year, one fan claimed, before another added, it was really exciting watching her chemistry with Caitlin Clark. Such a shame. Fagbenley worked her way into the team last season, becoming a key part of the rotation as the Fever headed into the playoffs. Fagbenley is a former WNBA champion with the Minnesota Lynx after being drafted in the 3rd round back in 2017, but left the league in 2020. The veteran played basketball in Europe for the following 3 seasons, before earning a training camp contract with the Fever in 2024 and earning a roster spot. On Saturday, Fagbenley posted some of her season highlights on Instagram and said goodbye to the Indiana fans. She wrote, "To my teammates, we had a season of revelations and growth. So proud of all y'all for persevering. Thank you for lifting me and each other. F the noise. Keep growing together. Thank you for the consistent energy, Indy fans. Y'all are solid. Very grateful. Very blessed." Clark was sad to see her go and left a comment on her post which read, "Love you, Tem. Gonna miss you." Fever teammate Lexi Hull also sent her best wishes, replying, "Going to miss you, Tem." Johnson questioned why the publication couldn't have put the whole WNBA on that cover, given the talent the league possesses. "When you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings," added Johnson, co-owner of 3 Washington sports franchises: the NHL's Capitals, the NBA's Wizards, and the WNBA's Mystics. This year, something clicked with the WNBA, and it's because of the draft of players that came in. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's Angel Reese as well. We have so much talent out there. In her debut season with the Indiana Fever, Clark took home the Rookie of the Year award and was named to the All-WNBA first team, the first rookie to do so since 2008. Her maiden season has also coincided with an unprecedented increase in coverage of the league, with viewership numbers consistently broken. The league's overall attendance increased by 48% year-on-year to its highest level in over 20 years. This phenomenon has been coined the Caitlin Clark effect. A side effect of Clark's success has been an increase in commercial deals, which Johnson says may create ill will among Clark's counterparts. Notably, Clark reportedly agreed to an 8-year deal with Nike, worth $28 million, that includes a signature shoe. This has prompted criticism from some quarters that her race has partly contributed to her commercial success, given other black stars have not received deals on the same level. They would like to get the same kind of recognition. It all started with the whole Nike sponsorship that Caitlin got. Johnson, America's first black woman billionaire, said. There are other players saying, "What about us?" Throughout her college and WNBA career, Clark has been pitted on an on-court rivalry with fellow star Reese. While the rivalry has helped grow the game, it has also triggered discourse about race in the US. In September, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert compared their rivalry to that of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's in the late 1970s and 1980s. That was an era which came to define the NBA for a period, but the narrative was one that often delineated along racial lines by pitting a black man and white man against each other. Asked whether such comparisons could be drawn between Clark and Reese, and whether it was a good thing for the league, Sheila Johnson told CNN, "I think the media has got to be very, very careful to not make this a race issue, and that's what's really important." She later added, "I'm concerned about the infighting and the racial innuendos going on because that's going to turn advertisers away from us." Clark is aware of the preferential treatment she may have received because of her race. In her Time interview, she stated, "I want to say I've earned every single thing. But as a white person, there is privilege. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible. I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing." Sheila Johnson said Clark should not have felt the need to approach the topic, but I applaud her for saying it. "We have got to work together because the WNBA is at an inflection point where we're really starting to go up, and I don't want to lose that momentum," she added. Indiana Fever General Manager Amber Cox sat down for an interview with the team's media department on Thursday and said that re-signing veteran guard Kelsey Mitchell is the organization's #1 priority during free agency. In addition, Cox touched on the surprise decision to leave Temi Fagbenle unprotected in the recent expansion draft and hinted at bigger moves to come. WNBA free agency does not officially get underway until January. Teams can make qualifying offers and core designations between Jan 11 and 20 and may then start negotiating with players on Jan 21. No deals can be signed until February 1, however. The Fever, coming off their first playoff appearance since 2016, have already made some noise this winter by reshaping their front office and hiring Stephanie White away from the Connecticut Sun to be their new coach. They enter free agency with $657,639 in cap space, which gives them the ability to sign multiple max players. It's clear that they hope one of them will be Mitchell. The former #2 overall pick has spent her entire career with the Fever and put up a career-high 19.2 points per game last season while shooting 40.2% from three-point range. She is an unrestricted free agent and has made it clear she wants to explore that process. "It's definitely a lot of emotions and thoughts that flow through my mind. I think everything for me is so fresh, I don't know what I need and what I'm gonna do," Mitchell said during her exit interview in September. "I've always had a home in Indy, so it could potentially be a home for me again. But I think right now the switching dynamic of my family and everything, I gotta do what's the best for me. I gotta be selfish about that process." The Fever are hopeful that White's arrival, the ability to play with Caitlin Clark, and the chance to finally compete in the playoffs will be enough to convince her to stay. That backcourt was about as lethal as we've seen in the WNBA, and I'm talking maybe in the history in the second half of the season last year, Cox said. "We want to reunite Caitlin and Kelsey. And Kelsey, when I think about her and her time in Indiana, and a lot of trials and tribulations throughout her career, for me and for us, I'm most excited for her to be in this moment and experience so much success." While Mitchell is the Fever's main focus, they'll be looking for other ways to improve the team. In particular, they'll need help in the front court, especially after the Golden State Valkyries selected Fagbenle in the expansion draft earlier this month. The veteran built a strong partnership with Clark, and the team was much better with her on the floor. Though that time was limited due to various injuries, Cox hinted at bigger moves on that front. There are a number of big-name forwards hitting free agency this winter, including Satu Sabali, who has been linked to the Fever. Temi was obviously an incredible piece to the success last year, but it's the price we pay for growth, Cox said. We're really excited for Golden State to come online. It was a decision we made, but a decision that wasn't in a vacuum, but as part of an overall strategy that hopefully everyone will see unfold throughout the off-season. Furthermore, Cox stated that the Fever, who finished 11th in the league in defensive rating last season, 107.5, want to improve on that side of the ball and will target 3-and-D type players. One interesting, almost offhand note was that Cox said they've been looking internationally, which shows a willingness to be creative in their attempts to build a championship team. Ultimately, though, fit is the most important thing, Cox said. You gotta have somebody that can run up and down the floor and catch those passes that Caitlin's gonna be throwing,